Welcome to our annual training for reducing the risk of cement burns. The goal of this plan is to keep our customers safe, keep them from getting injured when they use our product, and to make them aware of the hazards of working with wet concrete. We want to go over the employee responsibilities. So this plan only works when all employees that have responsibilities take their responsibilities serious, with the goal again of keeping our customers safe and preventing them from getting burned when they work with our wet product. Dispatchers. With dispatchers, when they're accepting an order from our non-professional customers, we consider these to be our at-risk customers, those with the least chance of having knowledge about the hazards of working with wet concrete. When dispatchers accept an order from these COD customers, they want to follow this script, and it's going to be to thank the customer for the order. We want them to listen to a pre-recorded message. We realize that time is of the essence in dispatching. You go from one phone call to the next to the next. So we have an automatic recording set up for the customers to listen to that talks about the hazards of working with wet concrete and how to protect themselves when working with wet concrete. We give them, in addition to having them listen to this message, we have some written materials, some printed materials that we want to email them by email, by fax, or if necessary, put them in the U.S. Postal Service mail. After discontinuing the conversation with the customer, obviously they want to send that printed materials to the customer and note on the order form how that's been sent. We also have the same information available on our website on working safely with concrete. Dispatchers also need to be aware that they might receive a phone call from one of our mixer drivers. We're at a job site pouring concrete with customers that have a chance of being exposed to the wet concrete, possibly getting cement burns. They might put that job on hold, and dispatchers need to be aware if they get a call from a mixer driver, they may need to contact that customer again or reach the person on the job site, the foreman or supervisor, that can talk to dispatch and let them know what needs to happen so we can continue to pour. So we're going to remind the customer again, these are the hazards of working with fresh concrete. And we need to let them know that if they can't fix that situation, that we won't be able to continue the pour. We have the option of delivering some materials to the job site, such as rubber boots, rubber gloves, safety glasses, if those items are what is needed to continue the pour. We have materials that can be delivered by the safety director, by salespeople, and by company managers. Then again, hopefully we want to have a successful delivery of the product. And the customer ordered the concrete, they need the concrete's there, but we need to have things safe before we can continue to pour. In these situations, the dispatch needs to get a hold of the safety director, get them to go to the job site right away. If the safety director is not available, we'll try to get a supervisor or a salesperson. Dispatch needs to reach somebody that can go to the job site to help out the driver. Okay, dispatch needs to be aware that you have the authority to stop the pour anytime you believe it's unsafe. The company will back your decision. When we first ran this training out, company president said, look, I'd rather bring concrete back to the yard, dump it out, give the customer their money back, rather than have somebody get burnt with our product or injured. Obviously, any safety concerns that come up, we want to note those on the order, just as we would with any material change or any water added, those types of things. For mixer drivers now, we realize that there might be several trucks going to a job site with our non-professional customers, but if you're the first driver or the only driver, we want to make sure you have the two items shown in this picture along with your delivery ticket. The pamphlet on the right is from National Ready Mix Concrete Association. That's how to work safely with concrete. It's another chance for the customer to see the hazards of working with concrete. And you can see there's boots and gloves pictured on that pamphlet, along with some photos of what skin looks like when it has a bad reaction with cement that's in concrete, or some body parts that have actually had cement burns. Also on the left there is a working safely with concrete and mortars form. It's an acknowledgement form that the customer is aware of the hazards and how to work with it safely. And it's a spot for them to sign and date that they understand these hazards. So when you get to the job site, first thing you want to do is go over those two pieces of information and ask if they have any questions. See if they need any personal protective equipment like the boots, the gloves, the safety glasses. And if the order has not been paid for yet by credit card prior to delivery, if you're going to take payment at the job site, we want to go over this information even before we take payment for the concrete. Next thing, tell drivers is look around, see what you got. Do we have a crew of guys and gals that know what they're doing or look like they know what they're doing? They have the right tools, they have the right protective gear, or do they not have a clue? They have primitive tools. They're wearing flip-flops, shorts, no gloves, no boots. If there's a problem right away, advise dispatch right away. No sense in getting the pour started if nobody has a chance to work with the product safely. These are the instances where we must stop discharging concrete. So if our customer is wearing clothing that is saturated with the wet concrete, with the paste, and it's against their skin, we need to stop pouring. If they're working without gloves, boots, or long pants, when I say with working without gloves, this means that they can be working without gloves using tools. I'm talking about if their hands are down in the concrete, either moving wet concrete around from high spots to low spots. If they have a hand in the concrete, with one hand in the concrete, the other with a finishing tool. If they're walking around in the concrete without boots, or if they're kneeling in the concrete without knee pads or a dry knee board. These are instances where we must stop pouring the concrete. This is to get the customer's attention. There's no concrete being poured, you'll get the full attention. We'll stop the situation, we'll get it remedied before we can continue to pour. This plan I mentioned in the beginning, only works if all of our employees take their responsibilities seriously and follow through on them. The mixer driver, you're the only one that's at the job site. You're the eyes and ears of the company at this point. You're the only one that can see there's a risk of a customer getting a cement burn. So you are the most critical part of this whole program, and want to encourage you, if the situation arises, to step up and stop the pour. And again, if that happens, we're going to keep calm. We're not going to argue. The customer might be upset, like I mentioned. They need the concrete. They ordered the concrete. The concrete's there. Part of it's off the truck. They paid for the concrete, so they might be upset. We're not going to argue. Just that we're following company procedures, safety procedures to keep them safe. If the issue is that they've got, clothing with saturated clothing that's against their skin, you tell them they need to change their clothing. If it's, their hands have been in it, we need to rinse off those hands. We can use the water in your tank on the truck if they don't have their own water source. But again, we can go over the safety materials, just be clear with them what needs to change before you can continue to pour. We can wait for company manager, the safety director, to show up to assist in that communication. Certainly the dispatcher's instructions are to send someone to the job site as soon as this becomes aware to them after you reach them on the radio. So next, again, you're the only one that's on site that can see what's going on. You have the full authority to stop the pour anytime you see it's unsafe. And again, from the president of the company, we'd rather lose the sale than have a customer get burnt, get injured. One of the last couple things here, keep detailed notes of any safety issues on your ticket, just as if you were adding water, or if you noted that that a slump test is being done improperly, or if you noted that the customer is spraying water on top of the concrete that's starting to get away from them. And then the last thing, you should have at least one of these signs on your mixer truck, if not two. Want to make sure you keep those clean and legible. Just one more warning to our customers of the hazards working with concrete and how to work with it safely. Uh, Keep those clean, and if they're missing, if they're in disrepair, please let your supervisor know. We'll get those signs, decals replaced on your truck. Company salespeople and company managers, this is just again the advice for them. If they're asked to go to the job site to assist with a driver where we've stopped the pour, again, we're not going to argue. We're going to keep calm. We're just going to state our position clearly and remind them that we're trying to keep them safe, and we're not going to be able to resume the pour unless all the safety concerns are corrected. Again, we're going to tell our customers how to work with it safely and what the hazards are of working with concrete. Here's a photo of it looks like the area of the cement burn is boot height. So I'm thinking this person had boots on, possibly got concrete either inside of the boots, or perhaps they weren't waterproof boots and they soaked up the paste and held the cement paste against the skin inside the socks. The socks were probably soaked. So this is what happened. The longer the exposure, the greater the possibility of getting cement burns. And these are the best practices for working safely with concrete. Ideally, all of our customers would be wearing all of this personal protective equipment on every delivery. We know that's not going to happen, or it would be unlikely. But again, remember the situations where we must stop the pour if you're a mixer driver. If it's contacted on your skin, rinse it off as soon as possible. Remove the saturated clothing so it's not held against your skin. And if the concrete gets in the eyes, if we didn't wear safety glasses or got behind the safety glasses, we're going to rinse our eyes to get everything out, but also seek medical attention, because you might have a speck of aggregate still in your eye that you think everything's out. And if it's not, it could work its way in through the eye surface and cause much greater damage if left unchecked. A question you might have as a driver in particular, if you go to a job site and it's a professional customer, it's not a COD do-it-yourselfer, and I see them doing something where if they were a non-professional COD, I would stop the pour. What do I do if it's a professional contractor? And we're not asking you to stop the pour, but we are asking you to contact the dispatch right away. They can get safety director or supervisor or salesperson sent to the job site as soon as possible to address that situation with the supervisor of the job to keep that employee safe and uh, against the possibilities of getting a cement burn. And lastly, if you have a customer that's at the job site, they're complaining about skin irritation or cement burns, or if they call a dispatch on the phone or salesperson, hey, we had this happen in Adrian when our Adrian plant was open. What kind of cement do you use in your concrete? My skin feels like it's on fire. Well, you get in a situation like that, tell them to rinse their skin off with lots of clean water and seek medical attention to get the skin evaluated to um, make sure they're not going to have serious cement burns. In any situation like that, we want to get our safety director involved. So contact your safety director as soon as possible so he can get involved with the conversation with the customer. If you have any questions, please contact your supervisor or the safety director, and either on this program or anything we can do to keep our customers safe. Thank you, and that concludes this annual training.